off that clock up there.
I told everybody, I said, you know, we did fine. I've been presenting it because everybody said, what's going to go away? Murals go away. You paint them. It's a living thing. It's not just a, it's not one statue. Expressing it. Yeah, that's good. Oh, yeah, how you doing, Ben? So we've been talking about
It's
going to be after communication.
now it's 6:30.
Thank you. Okay.
We're ready.
Just for the artist meet.
Okay. Call to order.
Chairman Mark Barlow,
Here.
Vice Chairman Jim Torgerson,
Here.
Commissioner Mary Ellen Fresquez. Here. Commissioner Thomas McNally. Here. Commissioner Ryan Hamilton.
Here. Okay. Communications from citizens. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters not on the agenda. The Commission's response is limited to responding to criticism, asking staff to review a matter commented upon, or asking that a matter be put on a future agenda. Are there any communications from the citizens? Okay. Okay, we'll move along. Dan Henderson will make a, what? Not yet. Dan Henderson will make a presentation at this time.
Good evening. My name is Dan Henderson, and I'm the Gilbert Economic Development Director. And I have not so much a presentation as I do really just an update on a couple of items. In terms of announcements, wanted to make the commissioners aware of the partnership that is in place with Local First Arizona. That's a group that essentially is a buy local group or a shop local group, and through tourism funds, we've authorized a Small Wonders map, which is essentially a print version as well as a digital version of a map linking downtown with other attraction amenities. And I believe that they will be in the downtown and around town soliciting ads and buy-ins for the map. The town's participation is 2/3 funded with town tourism funds, and 1/3 of the monies will come from those individuals that wish to advertise or promote themselves within the Small Wonders map. The other announcement and brief update is the ASU Masters of Real Estate and Development program, or what we call the ASU MRED program. The ASU MRED program has kicked off its Synthesis 2, and what that means is over the course of a year, the MRED program does 3 synthesis projects. The first project has come to a conclusion, and in November, Synthesis 2 project was initiated in Gilbert, whereby essentially the ASU students are inventorying town land and will be proposing on 1 March 2013 their proposal, their assumptions, their summation, if you will, of their program and their initiative. I believe that all the commissioners were invited to attend the announcement of the MRED program in November. I'm certain that there were a couple that were able to attend. For those of you that weren't able to attend, and for those of you in the community that would like to know more, we would love to have ASU MRED program come to the January Redevelopment Commission meeting and provide more of a formal update and briefing of what their of what their exercise is and what they're doing for the town. I guess finally, as it relates to MRED, that was the update about Synthesis 2. Synthesis 3 will take this program through conclusion through May, and that will be the second part of their effort with Gilbert. And that program is still in a rough draft. We have received a hard copy version of what that looks like, just for review, brief comments, and town staff has gone into the MRED program at ASU and has presented some facts and some figures to the students, addressed questions, issues, concerns, invited the MRED students and the program administrators to come into the downtown morning, noon, and night, any day of the week, to tour the community by bicycle, tour the community by foot, and just generally walk around and get the lay of the land. We've also offered town services to avail themselves should there be questions. All of the information being requested by the students and of the program administrators is updated on the Heritage District site. So on the website, there is a link on that page that says ASU MRED. There is everything from maps to all kinds of data and assemblage of information that has been requested, and that is our commitment to not only the town, but also to the program, as whatever is asked by the town in terms of resources, maps, overviews, that kind of stuff, will be available on that link. So that link will just continue to grow. Our thought process behind making that information available is if these students that are planning and master planning development in the community are requesting these types of information, we feel that the development community should also have access to that information. So as you go out to that link off of the Heritage District webpage, you'll see a tremendous amount of information, and there's more to come. I guess with that, those are all the updates that I wanted to provide to the Redevelopment Commission, and I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Any
Marlo,
questions?
can we ask a question, Dan? At the kickoff for the MRED that was held in this building,
Yes.
And a few of us were present. So I just wanted a little bit of clarification on the assignment to the students. And was that going to be for recommended uses on individual parcels within the Heritage District?
That is not necessarily the scope of work, and in fact, the scope of work that they are currently engaged in is available on the Heritage District site under the MRED link, so that information is available to their entire scope. There is probably 8 components to the scope of work, some of which is the question that you've asked, but that's not ultimately the deliverable. Will they take into account different zoning and different uses on a per parcel basis? Absolutely. But the project, if you were, is to look at the entire area and begin to provide, from their perspective, a way to assemble and program the entire area. Does that answer your question?
Okay, so would that be kind of a master plan?
The intent is that they would be developing some sort of a master plan. The master plan is more so designed as to whether or not Gilbert should be the master developer. So it's less of a master plan and more of a proposal by the students as to who should serve as a master developer in the Heritage District.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners want to comment? Okay, thanks very much, Dan.
I would like to make a comment.
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
I think we should have this as
Commissioner McNally, hit your microphone.
Sorry, there it is. Okay, I'll restate. I think we should have it as he has proposed to update us in our January meeting.
Okay, thank you. Moving along in our agenda with the first presentation will be the Public Art Sculpture Project Art Subcommittee to provide an update, discuss ideas for public art, and presenting will be Lisa Herman.
This is Diane. Oh, okay. I was gonna-
Yes, presenting will be Diane Fales.
Yeah. The name, Lisa was going to take my place, and I ended up able to be here, so. Okay. Just down this way? Okay. Okay. All right, again, hi, good evening, Commissioners. My name's Diane Fales. It says Lisa Herman. She's our staff liaison person. Like I said, I was supposed to be here. She was going to take my place, and it's turned out that I could be here tonight. And the point of this evening is just to keep you updated on what our ideas are and what we're working on. As you may know, the Arts Subcommittee is sort of in a state of flux. We'll be turning into the Arts and Culture and Tourism Commission in February. So we're still working out some of the ideas, but we wanted to let you know what's going on. Let's see. Oh, let me go back. So that, I don't know if any of you have been to Chicago, and many years ago in '98, I think it was, they had Cows on Parade. And this was very popular. And ever since then, all over the country, other towns and cities have done this sort of thing. Even in Chandler, they had, I believe, 13 ostriches. I, in fact, painted one of them. And they're a big hit. I did talk to Eric Fallhaber over there, and he gave me some hints about what to do and what not to do. But this is sort of the ideas that we were coming up with, setting up forms or something that relates to Gilbert. And this is London or the UK. They set up the Easter egg hunt. 200 artists were given eggs. And this was set up as an auction where they were spread all over. The artists were given the eggs, they decorated them, then they installed them, and then people went around and tried to find them. It became like a scavenger hunt. And so it sets up a kind of a sense of excitement around the whole situation. People get maps, and there was some sort of prize for somebody who found the right one, you know, the specific one. And that will relate, we're thinking about that in relation to tourism and building up, you know, a sense of movement or excitement around town. This is a smaller project in Minnesota. They actually used steel benches. These aren't fiberglass. They spray coated them, or did the powder coating, and the artists actually only had to use like Rust-Oleum paint. And those were sponsored, and that's, I think, what we're focusing on a little bit, is we're thinking about having businesses sponsor them individually. When I spoke to this art administrator there, she suggested that because the sites are chosen early on, they're decided so the sponsor can be at the beginning, they know what they're getting, instead of auctioning off something somebody may or may not use, depending. So it's, and then they get to choose. The sponsor gets to pick, you know, the artist will come up with designs, and then they're helping with choosing how it's going to help them and their business. Now, the other thing we liked that really came up was benches and chairs. These two, I think, are both fiberglass. And what's really awesome about these is they make great, well, there's some artists working on projects, is they become photo ops for a lot of people. And you engage the public by having them send in their images, their photos they take with and then it becomes a social media type of thing where people are posting them. And I think this was in the state of New York. I'm not sure exactly, but there was 80 of them, I believe. But if you go to the website, you see families. It's just like repeated, like you can see the same baby on like 8 different things. They send them all in. And it's fun, and it gets people moving through the town and channel them, and however, you know, if you tie it into your business or you tie it into, the plan is to tie it into economic development and that sort of thing. So, let's see. I'm looking at Lisa's notes. These aren't my notes, so I have to read them. So yeah, so unveiling an unveiling event, a treasure map, scavenger hunt. But undoubtedly, some of these will be downtown with some businesses downtown. So that's why we wanted to bring it to you and explain to you where we're at right now. So in January, we're going to make further decisions. But we wanted to share and see if you had any input or any ideas or any thoughts. And that's it.
Well, thank you. Any comments from commissioners?
Chairman Marlowe? So Diane, I think it's a great idea. Much like the art sculptures that are in downtown Mesa, where everybody's taking their picture on them or near them or with them. So I think it's a great idea. I think it'll actually get people moving, encourage tourism. We have a lot of photographers that are already using the downtown area, so I think it's a great idea. So I encourage you to see how much participation you can get within the Heritage District. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments?
Yeah, I would just say that if you're thinking of steel, you were saying those were metal and powder.
Oh, no, that was just that one in Minnesota.
I was going to say it's.
Yeah. And most of them we're working on trying to find a vendor that's local, but it's difficult. A lot of these people are in the Midwest, and a lot of the costs are shipping, actually. So that's what we're trying to do, logistics, that sort of thing. But we're also recommended that some of them can be put out at the different seasons and brought inside in different seasons, depending on the business and that sort of thing. So that's another thing we're thinking about.
Okay, thanks very much, Diane. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on now to the public hearing portion of our meeting, which will be Z12-21, a request to amend the Town of Gilbert Land Development Code, Chapter 1, Zoning Regulations, Division 2, Land Use Regulations, Article 2.4, Heritage Village Center Zoning District, Section 2.402, Land Use Regulations Table, Heritage Village Center District, Limitations L2, Drive-through prohibited, related to the restriction of drive-through facilities. A definition for service bay will be added. The effect of the amendment will be to permit with additional regulations a drive-through use in the Heritage Village Center Zoning District. And at this point, we'll turn the time over to Linda Edwards.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. The Redevelopment Commission has seen this text amendment in study session, I believe, 5 times. Your staff report does include the minutes from your meetings and the Planning Commission study session for the initiation and their study session that they just had December the 5th. So what I'm going to do, keeping in mind that you have heard the majority of this information, not much has changed since you last heard it. In fact, very little has changed other than my input from the Planning Commission, some bullet points to summarize some of the data for you, and a little guidance by staff in the process to make a recommendation. So I'll go ahead and get started. Tonight, as you have heard in the past, we will provide the presentation tonight, starting with why we're doing the text amendment, where this text amendment what it affects, what zoning district. We'll review the vision of the Heritage District, go through the specifics of the limitation for a drive-through, and then quickly summarize some of the discussion that took place here at this, or with the Redevelopment Commission and with the Planning Commission, and then the proposed text for the text amendment. The reason why this text amendment has come forward is because there is a restaurant user who wants to convert an existing facility that has a service bay to a restaurant use with a drive-through facility. Even though we are not going to be looking at this project at a design review level, I did bring forward just that much information about why we are looking at the text amendment. So we won't review the traffic studies, the stacking, all the facts that are typically reviewed in detail at a design review level. On the screen, there's a very large area that is in a light blue. That is the Heritage Village Center within the Heritage District. The L2 limitation is specific only to the Heritage Village Center. It does not affect any other zoning district in the Heritage District. There are other zoning districts in the Heritage District: public facilities, multifamily, single family. This is another close-up with the aerial on, showing with stars 2 existing drive-throughs and 2 existing service bay facilities. The 2 existing drive-throughs are north of the Western Canal, 1 service bay north of the canal, and 1 service bay south. I'll show you more detail. These are the 2 existing drive-throughs north of the Western Canal, a Burger King and a Dairy Queen. I know Dairy Queen's been there for at least 34 years because I've been visiting it that long. I don't know how long Burger King's been there, maybe 10 or 12, I'm not sure. 2 service bay facilities also in our community for quite some time. The Express Lube north of the canal has been there 20-plus years, and Clements Garage, I believe, since the 1950s. And these aerials show that Express Lube is completely surrounded by existing infrastructure with newer development that will probably be there for several decades. Clements Garage, after speaking with them personally, is an older facility that may or may not remain over time, and is also surrounded by vacant land or structures that could be redeveloped, as they are also quite old. The owners of Clements Garage let me know that they did not have a position on this text amendment and do not wish to renovate their service bays to a drive-through restaurant use. So the focus is back to the north side of the Western Canal. As you can see by this aerial in close-up view here, that the 2 stars on the east side are completely surrounded by office, school, church, storage facilities, a drive-through facility, and a service bay. And on the west side is a drive-through facility surrounded by vacant land, all of that area in the HVC zoning district. And a little better aerial of Clements Garage with, you can see the vacant land, and there are older structures near it. The next few slides go over the vision of the Heritage District, and that vision has remained the same since the development of the first redevelopment plan for the area. Keep in mind that when the redevelopment plan was initiated and approved and the redevelopment commission was formed, it was because there was slum and blight in the Heritage District. And with that redevelopment plan, other mechanisms were played to assist with truly redevelopment and bringing businesses and improvements to the area. The vision is included in all of the guiding documents for the Heritage District. The redevelopment plan, the general plan, the zoning districts, several studies that have been done by stakeholder groups, the design guidelines, and also at your retreats. This is a picture that shows a great vision of what a mixed-use structure could include. I think it's important to note in this slide, which was your actual slide in 2010, that it's nice to have outdoor cafe and a variety of mixes, a mix of uses that would occur during the day, all with different peak hours. This is the text from the Land Development Code, and these are 2 purpose statements, and I find it interesting that there's additional purpose statements for this zoning district, and to me that means extra thought was put into the Heritage District, a village center. And one of those additional purposes is to attract active uses that enhance pedestrian ambiance and support mixed commercial uses. I think that it is fun to come to a destination that has a variety of uses, and it provides a place for people to gather and to dine and to mingle, and they can walk to, a place that is comfortable and safe. Also, for the purpose statements, you will also see that there is a statement for mixed use. Mixed use is not only vertical, it is also horizontal. This is the actual vision for the Heritage District. Some of the points that I'd like to make with the vision is that family-friendly. A restaurant use with a drive-through is family-friendly. It attracts all ages and encourages families to have an opportunity to do something together. I think that another important statement is that it again reinforces a mix of uses, and that no one single user will dominate the area. This is an opportunity with a text amendment to utilize a small business, invite a new small business. These are the goals of the vision. They are in the redevelopment plan, and they are in our general plan, specifically the character area chapter of the general plan. And here you will note, ensure economic viability of the downtown, promote reinvestment, promote and attract new development. I think those are important things to keep in mind as the Commission considers an amendment. And with that thought, I just wanted to remind the Commission that all of our tools, including the general plan, the zoning code, the municipal code, the building and the fire codes, all these things can be amended for good reason, is because sometimes we cannot anticipate reality or economics. And with the new push for sustainability, this provides an opportunity for an upuse of a structure and a use. So now we're moving on to the actual limitation that is noted in the Land Development Code for a restaurant use, which is L2, which prohibits a drive-through facility in the zoning district. It doesn't only apply to a restaurant use. It also applies to several other uses: banks, dry cleaners, and retail sales. We did do some research in neighboring communities. Chandler and Scottsdale do not permit drive-thrus in their downtowns. However, like many communities, those that were existing and grandfathered, many of them still exist and turn over with similar uses over time. Here are the 6 options that you reviewed. The first option was to delete the L2 limitation. The result of that would allow drive-thrus anywhere in the Heritage Village Center zoning district, straddling both sides of Gilbert Road. The second option had the most conversation, as you supported some flexibility in that the existing drive-thrus on the north side of the canal would be able to remain until that actual facility of a drive-thru would no longer exist, and that a service bay could convert to a drive-thru and remain as a drive-thru until it no longer exists, with a caveat that the only use that would be permitted with a drive-thru is a restaurant facility, not all the others that are in the code today with that restriction. There was also discussion to require a use permit, and that, I think that was the only other restriction. So I mentioned the restaurant use and the use permit requirement. Another option, option 3, was that the L2 limitation would not apply to the area north of the canal. There is vacant land around Burger King that could develop with drive-thrus. Many, in fact. It's a large parcel. So that was not supported. The 5th option was to require a use permit and possibly consider unique findings like we do in our town for wireless communication facilities such as monopoles. The 6th option was to change the zoning district boundary and possibly rezone the area west of the canal to a different zoning district. I believe that some commission members felt that there still is potential for quite a bit of development on the north side of the canal, and that we should continue to tie the north side of the canal to the south side. And I believe the town is striving to do that with the improvements on the western canal and the desire to continue to improve the streetscape with sidewalks and lights and benches and make a comfortable area. And as our presenter just noted, you know, a cultural or a symbolic way also to connect a larger district that have different characters based on where they're located in the district. So now I'm going to review the actual proposed text amendment. And I wanted to point out the 3 columns. The first column is the uses now that have the L2 limitation. The second column is the existing land development code noting that limitation. What you will see in that column is L1 and an A. The L1 means that, I'll scroll to the next page so you can see it. The L1 means that that use can only be incidental to the principal use of the property. We're not recommending a change to that. Oh dear. I don't know why that happened, but it did. It'll take me a second to get right back to it. I think my hand was just a little too heavy on a button. Okay. And the A in that existing middle column there means that an automated teller machine requires an administrative use permit. We are not recommending a change there either. The changes that we are recommending, or that you have directed us to propose, is that the L2 limitation would look different. So the chart that you have in front of you is L2A and L2B. L2A simply means that the use is still prohibited. L2B means that the existing drive-through facilities located on the north of the Western Canal may continue to operate as a drive-through facility until the facility no longer exists. An existing service bay facility located on the north of the Western Canal may convert to a drive-through facility for the restaurant, beverage service, or restaurant limited service uses until the drive-through facility no longer exists. A use permit is required. I did the same thing. Okay. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why that happened. Usually I'm able to tap the second side of that slide and it goes right back to where I will never do that again. So what you will see in the third column, specifically for eating and drinking establishments, the two restaurant uses I noted, is the change of adding a bold U and a bold 2B. That means a use permit is required for those uses with a drive-through. And I think that I just realized that I need to make a correction there. And the reason why is because we do not want a restaurant to automatically require a use permit. So I will need to make that correction, and if you do make a motion on this tonight, I encourage you to make that correction for me in your recommendation. Because what that is saying is that you will need a use permit even if you don't want a drive-through for any new restaurant use, and that is not the intent of this text amendment. The intent of this text amendment is how 2B reads. I encourage you to strike the U in the third column because L2B notes a use permit is required with a drive-through, and that's all we're really asking for. And then on the last page here, you will also see that we currently have use definitions for a restaurant, but we do not have a use definition for a service bay facility. So I have offered one, a building containing bay or roll-up doors or similar service openings to provide service within the building. And that is provided because we only use the word service bay roll-up door in our land development code where we reference an automotive use in a commercial zoning district to assist with buffering when adjacent to residential. So we thought it would be important to offer a definition for what a service bay facility is. That's the summary of the overview of the conversation. I did make some bullet points that I wanted to be sure that I had covered if I did not cover it in the PowerPoint presentation. I did want to emphasize that this text amendment is for a zoning district, not the Heritage District. I also wanted to emphasize that this affects existing drive-throughs and it does not apply to future drive-throughs. The vibrant, and I did mention that a destination is a mix of uses. that a pedestrian ambiance does include outdoor seating, which a restaurant use would in this location, and that a pedestrian ambiance also includes active areas. The findings for a use permit, if you deem a use permit is appropriate with this text amendment, the purpose of that is to review specifically for this type of facility, access, circulation, stacking, hours of operation, noise, light, and visual impacts. I also wanted to mention, as you've heard me mention before, that the town has looked at the business park zoning district in our community, and with a thorough study, did allow existing residential to continue and to expand based on the fact that there was a pocket of existing residential that was actually quite new, and it didn't make sense for it to have to discontinue or be demolished.
Chairman Barlow, I was just wondering if, Linda, if you could repeat that last statement that you just made on that one bullet point.
Yes, I would be happy to. In our community, when the town was planning for the Santan Freeway since the 1980s or before, the area was very low-density residential. As the community grew and as the general plan was updated and approved by the residents, and as the town was rezoned and created new zoning throughout the entire town, business park general plan category is consumed a large area on the north side of our Santan Freeway. All of that, much of it, low-density residential farming and agriculture, still is today. However, a group of residents chose to make that their home. Some as old as 25 years old, some just a few years old, ranging from very, very high dollar value to, small ranches. And they wanted to continue to maintain their properties and live there and grow there and have their families. And because of the general plan designation as business park, that prohibited that lifestyle. So the zoning district business park has a unique limitation, and one of those limitations is if you are an existing single-family residential dwelling unit, you can continue to maintain your property and put in a pool or expand and function and continue to develop as residential if you are existing.
Okay, thank you. I understand.
I just wanted to also note that the economic viability of the downtown, business attracts business, that came up at some of the public input sessions. And there was a question at the Planning Commission in December about the future pedestrian connections from the south of the Heritage District through up to the north. And I reviewed with them the town's commitment to continue to keep the Western Canal as a trail and encourage connections on both sides of that canal, which we are doing. We also are in the process of improving pedestrianism in the area with a flashing beacon at the intersection of Vaughan and Gilbert, and sidewalk improvements and lighting. There was a comment at the Planning Commission that the north side of the canal has a different feel. It has a different pedestrian focus. It was built at a different time. It's more vehicular, has more of a vehicular focus. One of the commissioners felt that a no-option alternative should have been presented, meaning that he believes that no action should be considered and that the L2 restriction should continue. One comment was that the amendment seems too specific, and staff mentioned that it would affect 3 businesses. There was some comments about access from Gilbert Road, and the comment from staff was that if the access from Gilbert Road was required to be improved, it would come out during the design review process through engineering review. There was a question about the use permit. The use permit would not limit the use, but it would assess the impacts. If a restaurant use was permitted, it would be permitted, But if the drive-through facility was there, it would need to have a use permit for the drive-through facility, meaning the continuation of the 2 existing and a conversion of a service bay. And that's all I have for some highlights I wanted to be sure that I had covered during the presentation. In general, there has been a good amount of public input. The public input supporting the projects do believe that the downtown does have a different character as you move through the downtown, and it wouldn't negatively affect the vision. Those who support the project believe that the traffic on Gilbert Road is already on Gilbert Road, and that it would encourage that traffic on Gilbert Road today to stop and visit our downtown and stay and dine and learn to know our downtown. Those that were opposed feel that a drive-through does not fit the vision of a pedestrian ambiance, and that it is better to not allow a drive-through, and that over time that they wouldn't be anywhere in the district. I think that there are some public here today, and I have included all of their input in your packet if anything was written or sent in by email, and of course the minutes from all the meetings are there. So I don't want to pretend that there weren't many other comments for support or opposition. I just know that there are some here who want to speak in their own words about how they feel. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners at this point? Okay, we'll open up this portion of the meeting now to, if you'd like to speak, make sure you filled out one of these pink slips and hand it to us. And when you speak, please go up to the microphone, state your name and that you live in Gilbert. Last time it was, aren't they supposed to state that they live in Gilbert? Yeah. Okay.
What town they live in.
Oh, what town you live in, okay. So state what town you live in. The first pink slip I have is Linda Bergeson.
Excuse me, Chairman Barlow, how many minutes per speaker?
2 minutes, please.
My name is Linda Bergeson, and I am a resident of Gilbert. I would like clarification from Planner Edwards based on the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting last week where there was not public input. It was clarified, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, regarding if this text is passed, how it affects existing drive-throughs.
I'd be happy to do that. The commission discussed that if the existing drive-throughs, let's say Burger King, closed its doors, what would happen? This text amendment would allow the drive-through to stay as long as the new user is a restaurant. If the text amendment is not approved and Burger King closes, if they are closed for more than 12 months, the drive-through goes away.
And with this change, if it's approved, if Burger King closes and stays empty for 3 years, it can still be a drive-through. So for the life of the property, it can be a drive-through if this text amendment is approved, which I feel is a major point. So that removes the ability for existing drive-throughs, no matter what, can always stay there, where the current code allows it if for whatever reason 12 months that there's the power to say no more drive-throughs. But in addition to that, I just feel that's a really important point for you guys to consider. In addition to that, I'd just like to read this statement. My husband and I grew up and graduated from schools in the Old Town Scottsdale area. We had an opportunity to visit the Old Town Scottsdale area twice in the last 3 weeks. It was amazing to see most of what we remembered, including my husband's high school, gone and replaced with new development. The good part was that it still had its Fifth Avenue that we remembered, Sugar Bowl, and some of the other old-style shops that we remembered. And it was very pedestrian-friendly. We spent quite a lot of time walking the entire area, which was a very pleasant experience. Most importantly, it seems like it has transformed itself through vision and planning into a destination that attracts people from around the world, which I hope is ultimately the goal of Gilbert also, since I'm a longtime resident here and I love what's happening in this area. But I don't believe that them having drive-throughs in their downtown area attracts anyone. It's a convenience. My point in mentioning this is related to a comment made previously by a commissioner that stated something to the effect that the way the northern section of our Heritage Village District looks is probably the best it will be in our lifetime. I feel this is a very narrow view, and I hope this isn't the view of this commission or the leaders of the town of Gilbert in relation to our Heritage District. You only have to look at our neighbors in Scottsdale and Chandler to understand that there's a limited life to some businesses that allow others to rise. An example is right next to Bergie's, that empty lot that just happened in July. That building had been there for many, many years, and no one could perceive what would happen, and that it's now gone and that a new development will come in. Hopefully a development that will want to abide by the guidelines of the Heritage District. I believe that a master plan and a vision is what you guys were appointed to be part of, to work to enhance this plan for the good of the entire district. I don't believe the position is to change the rules for those that come in who don't want to comply with current codes. In my opinion, a good addition to our neighborhood district is someone who doesn't come in and immediately start asking to change the rules, but one who comes in and adapts their plans to the existing vision of the neighborhood. Approval of this drive-through, in my opinion, will open the door for future requests for exemptions and weaken a plan and a vision for this area that has previously been overwhelmingly approved by the citizens, the commissioners, planners, and council of the town of Gilbert. I urge you to vote no on this amendment.
Thank you, Linda. Nancy Roberts. Sure. And please keep your comments to 2 minutes because we have quite a number of individuals who would like to speak.
Good evening, Chairman Barlow and Vice Chair Torgerson and Commissioners. Thank you. I'm just going to briefly read. All plans, including our nation's Constitution, need flexibility in amending from time to time, as none are going to be perfect forever. For this reason, the city uses text amendments and other zoning aids. For over 20 years, nothing has happened north of the canal to bring it any closer to meeting the desired goals. Needs change over time, and flexibility of regulations are needed to achieve them. The Heritage District's goals of becoming a popular place to work, gather, dine, relax, shop, live has started to become a reality in the core and in the south end of the district. However, it is not due to the zoning regulations. If our city stuck to the exact vision as seen in the dream pictures presented to you as a desired ideal, today, we would not have Joe's Real Barbecue, we would not have Oregano's, and we wouldn't have Postino's. Those buildings are not built according to the vision of 2 or more story buildings as well as other restrictions. Yet because they were allowed, today we have the exact desired outcome of vibrancy for the area. This text amendment does not interrupt any positive progress in the core or the south end of the district. It is limited to the existing buildings with drive-through or service bays north of the canal. The north end of the district is nothing like the south end or the core. The speed limit is higher. There are existing drive-throughs such as Dairy Queen and Burger King, and there are no defining improvements there. Most people feel like the downtown begins south of the canal, where the speed limit goes down to 25 miles per hour. Those who do a visual inspection of this location understand the reasonableness of our request. Our building has a useful life of another 30 years and is not likely to be torn down anytime soon. Nor will the buildings surrounding it. Therefore, some flexibility is needed. The property could go on forever in its grandfathered use as an automotive service business. New automotive uses are not allowed due to the adding anything to promote the goals of the vision. This is a rare opportunity to go from meeting 0% of the goal to 99% of the goal. Successful pedestrian areas are not always 100% car-free. Pedestrian-friendly...
Dan, could we ask you to finish up, please?
Yeah, I will, in about 1 minute.
Well, we ask you to hold it to 2 minutes.
And
We have a lot of individuals that want to talk.
I know. The other person just took 4 minutes. Sorry. Successful pedestrian areas are not always 100% car-free. Pedestrian-friendly areas such as Agritopia are planning to incorporate drive-throughs in their epicenter Main Street shopping area. That's also a mixed use. Santan Mall is a pedestrian-friendly area which incorporates vehicles throughout it. Despite the tight regulations, downtown Scottsdale and downtown Chandler have drive-throughs within their boundaries, and they are all part of a mixed-use area. The goal of the vision is a vibrant place to work, gather, dine, relax, shop, and live. It is not to have only two-story buildings or eliminate every car. For our property to reach its highest use and achieve the desired goals of the district of having a more vibrant, pedestrian-friendly family place to live, work, and play, this text amendment is essential. And I'd just like to thank all the council members for all the time that they put into this, and also Linda Edwards for your countless hours. Thanks.
Thank you. Bruce Bergeson? You didn't check it.
I didn't plan on speaking, but I will.
Oh, your slip wasn't checked. Just state your name.
Bruce Bergeson, I'm a Gilbert resident. Couple things he just said. Joe's Barbecue's been here a long time, so they didn't get any special treatment. But I'm a business owner in Gilbert, and one reason I opened a business down here was because of your vision, City of Gilbert's vision, and the pedestrian-friendly feeling. So I just don't think drive-throughs and pedestrians have anything in common. You want to turn downtown Gilbert into a truck stop, then that's what it's going to be. You're going to allow backups with traffic. We don't even have a plan that I've seen yet on traffic flow and how it's going to be diverted. And that business to the north might just get ruined and nobody will ever want to be in there because of all the traffic in that facility that wants to be changed. So I just don't see anything common sense in any of it. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. William, is that Des Markles? Yeah, okay.
My name's Jim Desmarchais, and I'm a resident here of Gilbert. I'd just like to say I'm totally in support of what the Planning Committee is proposing here with the text amendment. And, you know, I've lived in Gilbert for a long time. I've watched the downtown area start to grow. I've seen those businesses, Joe's and Liberty Market and all these ones come in and it start to really grow. And we know that north that just hasn't been happening. And obviously, if a business is looking for somewhere to locate, they're looking for other customers. You know, an oil change place that is struggling and may end up closing is not going to entice other businesses to come into downtown Gilbert. And we want those businesses in there if we want a vibrant downtown. So it seems to me it just makes sense to do that. And we have a process. I mean, that's why you're here. You know, we know that when something is written down as a grand plan, that's nice, but we have a commission because you need to review things like this because you can't anticipate every situation. You can't anticipate the future of what businesses will be vibrant and which ones won't over a period of time. So it just makes sense that we have this process. So, I mean, I appreciate the fact that Gilbert has this process and we can look at the plan and say, well, yeah, that was a great idea, but we also have the potential here of bringing in a vibrant business that's going to bring more customers in, which is going to encourage other businesses to locate in that area because they're bringing customers in, as opposed to having an oil change business that's not bringing customers in and could end up closing, and then we end up having a building that's sitting there empty. So to me, it seems like it's pretty obvious that it's in Gilbert's best interest to allow this particular change, and the way it's written is very specific, so it's not going to allow an abuse of it, and we're not going to lose the overall vision of what the area is supposed to be, but we are able to make some accommodations here that I think make more sense. So, thank you.
Thank you. Alan Fitzgerald?
My name is Alan Fitzgerald. I'm a resident of Gilbert for almost 35 years, also a business owner and property owner in the Heritage District. What we've heard here tonight goes in opposition with my conversations with certified urban designers about the impact of traffic in drive-throughs on being pedestrian friendly. It was stated tonight by the town that they consider drive-throughs to be family friendly. That's in opposition with best practices in urban design. I'm opposed to the change. I want to stay the course, mostly because I don't think this represents what's safest in that area. The original presentations that were given on this proposed change stated 400 to 500 cars per day. Nobody has refuted that or changed that. There's been no published safety studies. We're in the middle of changing a zoning, which is pretty much irreversible, without the knowledge of what's going to happen if this proposed change goes in. And based on the information that was originally presented in meetings like this, that there was going to be 400 cars a day in there, and we haven't heard anything from the town publicly about safety studies, modifications to the streets to support the additional traffic. We haven't heard anything from the residents and from the businesses and from the school that surround the area concerning the viability of the additional traffic and the safety that they may have concerns about should this go in. I think that best practices in urban design strongly points against making a change like this, and this definitely, should it survive and go through, has to have a use permit. We have to have some way to manage this volume of traffic. Again, what we have to listen to and we have to go on is the volume of traffic that's been purported.
Thank you, Alan. Megan Ruffentine? Did I say that right? Okay. Let's see. Heidi Serrano?
Hello, I'm Heidi Serrano. I live in Gilbert, and I have been listening to all this, and today I pulled out all the paperwork that Linda put together and kind of read through everything and was trying to get a grasp on really both sides of this situation. And I kind of laughed to myself because I thought, wow, what a really good problem to have. Here we're sitting and we're talking about a business that wants to come to Gilbert, that wants to be in this area. We are really lucky. Not so long ago, we were losing businesses. We couldn't get businesses into the area. People are losing their jobs. So the fact that we're having these discussions is really good. The plan that was put together, I think they said in 2005, I could be wrong, and at that time, the market was amazing. The appreciation, people were buying, selling, it was an amazing market. But times change and things change. And so just like a business, our business, everybody else's business, we have to reevaluate. We reevaluate monthly, quarterly, yearly. We have to look at our business plan, and that's what this is. I mean, the town of Gilbert is a business. It may not be a profitability, but it is a need to have a balanced budget. We need to look at things like that. And that's the same thing when we go out and have these districts and we develop. We need to reevaluate and reanalyze what is going on, what changes are being made, and that's where we're sitting at today. We have an opportunity. There is a business that wants to come into this area. We have a general plan that lays over the top of this that has some different things that may or may not work. And so for us to be standing here looking at this, it's good, and we have to make a wise decision. The vision talks about a place to visit, shop, work, live, mixed use. All of this pedestrian ambiance. Dutch Brothers, which is what, and I don't know what we can, is it over? Am I over?
Take a few more seconds.
Thank you so much. I'll be really fast. Dutch Brothers fits that. It is a national company, okay? This isn't a fly-by-night business. This is a business that is proven that's going to come into the area. We don't have to worry about that. And they are locally owned, so the profitability, the revenue that they generate is going to go right back into Gilbert. Now, one of the issues that I was not going to discuss, but we're not talking about changing everything. We're talking about...
Okay, time's up. Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Lisa Kraft.
Good evening. My name's Lisa Kraft, and I'm a resident of Gilbert. I came here from Providence, Rhode Island, to find a place to raise my son and be able to do a lot of activities with him. And that's what we really liked about Gilbert. Back in Rhode Island, I did plan review for the fire department, so I know a little bit about codes and whatnot. And I'm a little confused on why the drive-through is lumped together with a service bay, when to me they're two totally separate things. Next question was, you passed this code 2 years ago? Am I correct?
The vision was established in 2008.
Which included this code that we're talking about?
It's a land use code. I'll let Linda Edwards speak to that point.
The Land Development Code was adopted in 2005.
Okay. You know, I'm sure that everybody that was involved in that took a lot of time and thought and had very good reasons to enact that. And I believe that that's a good thing. Pedestrian friendly, to me, is not having anything to do with drive-throughs. There is school children that have to walk home every day, and with cars coming in and out of driveways over there for a proposed drive-through, I think is not a good mix. Also, Linda had mentioned in her that they wanted to attract active uses that will enhance the pedestrian ambiance, and I think that that's just contradictory to drive-throughs, period. I don't know what else I can say other than I love to have more businesses come in, but why is there a need for the drive-through as opposed to just having a restaurant or a coffee house without the drive-through? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christine Shelley.
Good evening. I'm Christina Shelley, and I do live in Gilbert. I just have 2 or 3 things to say. My first thought when I heard about this was, this car repair place is probably not going to make it as such. So why are we taking the chance of letting a building sit vacant, which invites vandalism and decay? And that certainly isn't what we want for Gilbert. Second, they've already said they're going to keep their employees working. They're going to retrain them to work in the coffee store. So that means we'll have fewer people looking for jobs which are scarce. Let's keep our Gilbert people employed. And third, I think it does invite pedestrian traffic. I looked at the drawing. It's a place to sit outside. And for me personally, I have a 6-year-old grandson that lives with me. He can go over to Dairy Queen while I have my coffee. But I think we need to encourage whatever form of local business we can, whether it's parent companies nationwide or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Russell Kraft has down here, does not wish to speak. You do? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, a long day at work.
Okay.
I will try to stay to my 2 minutes. Don't stop me. My name is Russell Kraft. I do live in Gilbert. Again, I moved here to raise my son in a great environment. What I wanted to touch on, it seems like I am cursed. I grew up in Providence, Rhode Island. In the 70s, they were trying to revitalize downtown, make it pedestrian friendly, and next thing you know, on the outskirts rose McDonald's. a Dunkin' Donuts. And then gradually all these places squeezed in, so the revitalization went out the window. Fast forward to the 90s, they revitalized downtown. It cost them over $100 million to redo everything they had started in the 70s. I moved to Mississippi. In Biloxi, Mississippi had no gambling at the time. There was a restaurant right on the beach, and they wanted to get a variance to do a little gambling so they could keep their business running. If you go to Biloxi, Mississippi now, the beach is loaded, all casinos. The beach is ruined. There's only been one place I've ever lived that was able to maintain the historical structure, and that was New Orleans, Louisiana, if anybody's ever been there. They kept all these drive-throughs out. Pedestrian friendly, yes. You can walk, not just Bourbon Street, folks, but you can walk through the historical district without any fear of getting hit by a car. You might get hit by a bike or a drunk, but yes, you can walk through downtown without any fear of getting hit. Now, pedestrian friendly, a drive-through, do not meet. They do not match. The other concern I have is with the traffic. You add 400 to 500 cars, people are not going to drive through downtown Gilbert. They're going to go around. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Caston Roberts does not wish to speak, but is in favor of this item. Christy Peelan does not wish to speak, but is in favor of this item. Beth Baker is opposed to this item and does not wish to speak. Jared Baker is opposed to this item and does not wish to speak. Wade Cook is in favor of this item and does not wish to speak. Tina Cook is in favor of this item and does not wish to speak. That's all the speakers we have, I believe. I haven't seen. Oh, one more. Did you have a? Oh, Nancy? Yes.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Nancy Roberts, a Gilbert citizen and 23-year stakeholder in the downtown. Not too many years ago, downtown Gilbert had one large, locally owned main restaurant called Joe's Real Barbecue. Then along came Oregano's, a chain restaurant who needed special zoning overlays in order to build their business. Accommodations were made allowing them to build their restaurant. We all know the happy ending this has been to our downtown. Both prospered. Similarly, this text amendment will allow a wonderful new neighbor who is actually locally owned and operated. Our current auto business is also a locally owned and operated franchise, which has never bothered anyone. The proposed new coffee company has a well-established reputation of being a good neighbor to other businesses. This can be seen in their locations where they coexist harmoniously with multiple competing coffee shops, each one thriving in their own niche. Their contributions to area schools and communities causes can be seen in numerous articles. We can choose to walk away from this opportunity to move in the direction of our vision and remain auto use for another 30 years, or we can embrace this opportunity. I end with a statement from the coffee company's philosophy of operations. It is their company's optimist creed and something which, through this text amendment, could come to life and benefit us all. Talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet. Look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true. Think only the best, work only for the best, and expect only the best. Be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. Give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. This is the type of neighbor we should all want to have and want to be ourselves. Perhaps then we can all more fully reach our goals of being a popular place to work, gather, dine, relax, shop, and live together. Thank you again, Commissioners, for the enormous amount of time and energy that you have put into our case.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. With that, we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting and bring it back to the commissioners to discuss. Any comments from commissioners?
Going through the couple dozen cards, there's a lot of things that are said that make some sense. People, you know, have a desire to see a vision, something that we've seen drawings of, discussions of. Started 22 years ago, actually, the redevelopment district. And the last vision was adopted in 2005, and it started in 2003, almost a decade ago. And it's a different world. It's a way different world. When we talk pedestrian friendly, I hope everybody realizes that the alley behind Postino's is going to mix cars and pedestrians on the same piece of asphalt. So if we're going to sit there and talk about pedestrian friendly, don't shake your head because it's true, they will have more pedestrian problems there than in and out of a driveway. My son happens to go to the school next door. The school is supportive. I'm sorry, but that is their position. It is not, I don't believe that anyone that works for this town would ignore a safety issue. Staff will be looking at this. There's many stops on the way for this to go to council. It doesn't stop here. It doesn't stop at the next place. It goes to council. And certainly if there's something that's unsafe, it's going to be addressed. It's not going to be ignored by anyone. It won't be a truck stop in the fact that we're talking one spot that may or may not happen in the end. The concerns about somebody coming new to the neighborhood and wanting to change, I believe the Roberts have owned this property the better part of 20 years. I don't think they're new neighbors. There's a lot to look at here, and it's not a fair thing to override one person over another to force an issue, but that I think is the point of this board, is so that we discuss something, so that the passion of one person wanting to maintain a vision is respected at the same time that somebody's property and their ability to move forward in life is respected. One shouldn't necessarily overpower the other, but it needs to be balanced and considered, and I feel that there's it's been sad to see people get angry over a discussion of maybe someone's need to survive, someone's need to do something, a variance that may, or, you know, in their opinion, might affect them. But it is a built-out piece of property, unlike anything else in that area. It has a long expectancy of life, and I got to tell you, knowing that they're not making money, that they're basically covering their property tax, I'd much rather consider this than let it turn into the next Quick Pawn or loan shop. I'm just not. I think it's something to consider, and it's something that it's not a light consideration, but to try and throw too much drama to it and not look at what is fair. It's a disservice to both the property owner and the other members of this district. And with that, I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments from the Commission?
I'd like to make a couple of comments, just briefly. First off, I remember years ago when well, not that long ago, really, when Postino's was introduced to us as a potential. I think there was a big sigh of relief that went up with all of us when we heard of that and the type of business that it was. I looked into the, I Googled, I knew it was a wine bar, so I Googled wine bars in the area, and I was shocked to find right at the top of the list, Liberty Market, right next door, a wine bar, right next to a wine bar. It made me shake my head and say, this can't be. This might not be a good thing. But I think if we look back at this overall, I think everybody's pretty happy with what happened. And the competition, I think, is like wine itself. The plants compete with each other when they're close together, and things get better, the wine gets better. But not to drag that out, I didn't think that we were actually trying to stop traffic from coming into our area. I thought we were trying to increase traffic. So I don't think there would be too much traffic brought in by those cars, and we have plenty of people that take care of traffic in our community. And that's my thoughts on it so far.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Just a couple of quick comments. I think it's important to understand this is our third session now, hearing both sides. I think if nothing else, we do understand both sides, and I very valid points on both sides. I still go back to, and this is similar to what I said last time. I believe in the vision, and I believe in the visionary, and if I wasn't, I would be home right now. But I do think we're faced with the reality of these existing buildings that have these existing uses and these existing drive-throughs, and need some way to deal with that. And despite the fact that we've debated the thing 3 times, I still have copious notes. And I do think this is a narrow way to promote, as Planner Edwards said, reinvestment and up use. Were 2 things that caught my eye. Excuse me. So I do think that in a very limited way, this is a way to do that. I guess, Commissioner Barlow, I have a small comment on the actual language of the text amendment. Is this the time for that, or are we not going to? Are we going to move on to that, or how are we going to?
After we make.
Okay.
Any other comments? Okay. Go ahead.
I'd like to start my comments by thanking Linda Edwards for the packet that we received for tonight's meeting. It's so extensive and so comprehensive, and it was very helpful to prepare for tonight's meeting. So I'd like to state that I am not going to be supporting this tonight, and I'd like to give my rationale for the reasons, 3 reasons why I will not be in support of this. The first one is that I don't believe that this supports the vision statement for the Heritage District. And in tonight's packet, in the discussion by staff, there's a very lengthy first paragraph in that discussion which speaks to the vision. Our vision, the last time that we looked at it and crafted it was in 2008 for the redevelopment plan, where Commissioner Barlow and I sat on that commission, and we had 3 other commissioners. My idea at the time was that we have a very short vision that we could all kind of memorize and speak to. And at the time, our chair was Gene Valentine. Gene had a totally different idea. He said we ought to have a really long vision so that if you're reading this vision and somebody's got their eyes closed, they could visualize what we want the Heritage District to be. And he's very convincing. That's what we decided to do. The vision statement for the Heritage District is lengthy, finely crafted, and heavily wordsmithed. So there was an importance to every word, every phrase, everything that we have in the Heritage District vision. So what I saw in tonight's packet in the discussion to support this were words that were pulled out of the vision. It's not a comprehensive look at the vision for the Heritage District. I highlighted what I saw in the discussion, and I have to say that in certain ways, it was just disingenuous to pull out only the references that supported what staff would like us to do tonight. I have said before, and I'll say it again, I don't believe that our vision is set in stone. I don't believe it's on an Etch-a-Sketch either. I think that there is a process for changing the vision, and what I've heard in the process over the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months rather, is that maybe what we need is to relook at the vision as a redevelopment commission, and perhaps we need a vision for the retail core, one for the north section of the Heritage District, one for the southern section of the Heritage District. Maybe what we need is just to relook at one vision that actually incorporates all of that. I am working to the current vision that we have. Tonight we had a speaker who said that maybe we should look at this as a business plan, and successful businesses are always revising their business plan. Visions are long-term statements. You live and you work to a vision statement. So that's That's what I believe. The second issue that I'd like to address is safety. I believe that if you're southbound from Juniper and you want to turn left into the business that's being proposed, it's going to be dangerous. Right now, because many times I've turned left into Dairy Queen, I don't even believe that it's legal to turn left into Dairy Queen. It might be, but I know that it's only striped for left turns going north. This has not been addressed. It probably will be addressed. Whatever changes are required, I am hoping, and it has been stated before, that the expenses will not be for the town, but rather by the new business. And I would like to see that, in fact, these changes would occur in a certain time frame, a short time frame, so that safety is addressed. And then the last thing that I'd like to state is that we've heard a lot of comments from a lot of people, and I really appreciate the public input. One of the comments was made by the owner of the property, Nancy Roberts, and it's somewhere in our packet. And she stated that they bought the property and didn't even realize that they're in the Heritage District, because the Heritage District was established after they purchased the property, because there's no signage. And I 100% agree with you, Nancy. There is no signage. And so I think it's difficult. I have been on subcommittees where we recommend signage for the Heritage District, and I'm hoping that that does occur. And that will be a significant entry point to the Heritage District. And then the second thing I'd like to address is that Commissioner Torgerson has stated in the last couple of meetings that there is no master plan and there's no economic plan in place to support a master plan. And again, I'm going to say I 100% agree with that. And that's why I asked Dan Henderson tonight to comment on whether we're moving towards a master plan for the Heritage District. We need to know how the north is going to interface with the southern part of the Heritage District, how the center part relates to the residential district, and really how the whole district works together. So I think that comments have been made that I absolutely can support on both sides. But for tonight, I'm not going to be able to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to reiterate pretty much what I said at the last meeting we had, and that is I've been on the Redevelopment Commission for 9 years. I was chairman of the Heritage District Guidelines Committee, and I believe in the vision very strongly, but I believe things have changed. You know, there's been changes in the economy and the market. I believe that we've seen some segmentation along Gilbert Road between Elliott and Juniper in terms of intensity of commercial uses and the types of uses that are taking place in there. So I think we're going to have to go back and revisit that at some point in the future. I wholeheartedly agree that we need a master plan and signage. The comments that were made along those lines are extremely valid. But I also think that economic viability and opportunities for economic growth in the Heritage District are important. I'm a property owner. I own an office building and I own commercial land in the Heritage District. One of the reasons I selected the office building I did was because the traffic counts on Gilbert Road are 26,000 vehicles a day north-south. I wanted that exposure. I want that business. I'm there every day. I haven't really noticed a problem with congestion. There are times when there is, but we approved Postino's. We were just grateful to have Postino's come in, Liberty Market to come in. If you walk down there, there's a lot of people walking around, but there's also a huge amount of traffic that has taken place down there, but I don't see where it's hurt anything. I think it's brought vehicles. You see cars come in and look at the area. It brings them down there to look at businesses and see what's going on. So from that perspective, I guess I'm very entrepreneurial, but I'm also very committed and dedicated to the Redevelopment Commission. And I have to say I feel sorry that some members of the community are feeling like we've slighted them in some manner. I feel like we're trying to look at this in an objective manner and listen to everybody. And we've had 3 of these meetings to listen to various comments. The last meeting was very well attended. So with that, I'll conclude my comments. So at this point, we need to entertain a motion. Anybody like to make a motion? Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Hamilton, or did you say?
I do have some comments on the text language. Is now the time for that?
Sure, go ahead.
And I guess I'll direct it towards Plan Redzers because she's probably the one that's going to have to run with this. And I apologize, it's hyper-technical, and this is why people hate lawyers, but I spend the good part of my day fighting about what things like these mean. My understanding was that if you were to stop using a drive-through facility, if Burger King turns into something that doesn't use a drive, you lose the right to the drive-through facility. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So in the second line where it says may continue to operate as a drive-through facilities until the facility no longer exists, I think we probably ought to insert drive-through facility and drive-through in front of facility, only because that's the defined term below. And again, I understand the hyper-technicality of this and how nitpicky that sounds, but I think it would avoid some confusion down the road.
Thank you.
Would that actually be the use?
The drive-through facility.
The restaurant use of a drive-through facility.
As it reads, the facility no longer exists. I want to avoid the confusion that perhaps it's the facility, the building, not the drive-through facility.
Right, the specific use.
Correct.
Ceases.
If I could make a clarification so that we believe we're all saying the same thing.
Right.
Existing drive-through facilities, so we're talking about a building that has a drive lane and a menu window. That is a drive-through facility. The use is a restaurant. So I just want to be sure that the existing drive-through facility, the menu window and the lane, can continue to operate as a drive-through facility. And then you said until the drive-through, and you wanted me to insert the word drive-through, until the drive-through facility no longer exists. That is the intent of that sentence. It is not the intent of the sentence to say that the drive-through facility can continue only until the restaurant use. That's not the intent. The intent truly is that once the existing drive-through facility, which is the window, the menu board, and the drive lane, once that is either renovated in some way where that drive-through facility no longer exists, that you cannot have it come back, even with a restaurant use.
And that's my understanding.
Okay,
and I think that helps here. I want to avoid the confusion that facility could mean, especially since we say drive-through facilities the rest of the sentence, that it would mean the building or
yes,
I don't even know what
and
else.
the drive-through facility is the drive lane
Correct.
and the menu window. So if Burger King or Dairy Queen continue to have restaurant uses in the structure, they can continue to have their drive-through lanes. If the drive-through, if the Burger King turns into an office, the drive-through lane goes away. If Burger King turns into Chick-fil-A, the drive-through can stay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on that point?
Linda, one more clarification. If Burger King goes away and it remains vacant for 1 year and 1 day,
it can continue to keep the drive-through lane or facility only if the use is a restaurant use.
Within a year, if it's vacant?
No, the point that, Chairman and Commissioners, the point that one of our residents made is true, and that is the purpose of the text amendment, that those two structures with drive-through lanes, even if abandoned, can come back as a restaurant use with a drive-through facility. And today, without the text amendment, if Burger King went away for a year and a day, it could come back with a restaurant use, but not a drive-through facility. With the text amendment, you can continue to have the drive-through facility only if the use is a restaurant.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on that? Okay, we'll go back to asking for a motion.
I'll make a motion. Mr. Commissioner?
Okay, yes.
I make a motion that we, I was going to use this, right? To recommend to the Planning Commission that they recommend approval of Z12-21 as requested, subject to the development regulations listed in the staff report.
May I interrupt, Chair? Before
Yes.
the second, if the commission would also consider removing the U that should not be in the table in the third column. We do not want the U because the L2B already requires a use permit in that text. So the U in the third column should be deleted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Amend that as such.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No? Yay,
Okay,
no.
the voting has been concluded. All right, we'll move along on the agenda at this point to administrative items. Number 3, minutes. Consider approval of minutes for the regular meeting of November 14th, 2012. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Chairman Barlow?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There is
Yes.
going to be a correction made to the minutes on page 4.
Let's, we'll go through the, well, first. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the
A
minutes.
second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Go ahead, Libby.
On page 4, it should be 15 people were in favor towards the bottom of the paragraph. There was,
Okay.
where it says Chairman Barlow opened to the thing, and in addition to those who requested to speak, there were 16 in opposition, and it should be 15 slips in favor.
Okay, thank you. Any other corrections to the minutes? Clarifications? Okay. Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Administrative item number 4, review holiday decorations, events in the Heritage District. Scott Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Scott Anderson, Parks and Recreation Manager. Talking about the holiday decorations, I wanted to expand that a little bit if we can tonight and really facilitate a discussion with you about something far more reaching than the banners. But I think that the discussion we had about doing something in the Heritage District during the holidays so that we give a festive atmosphere and looking at what we might do in the future is something that leads into further discussion. As you heard tonight, there's a lot of thought about vibrancy and about what happens in a downtown and how that is facilitated. And if you look around at some of the other communities, you know that that happens through special events and things that happen in those downtown areas. And what I wanted to do tonight is expand. We've talked about the banners, and those banners are great. They're going to work out well for the holiday season. But I want to talk a little bit more about, do we want to do special events just at the holiday season in the downtown? In talking with my staff, we feel like there's an opportunity in the downtown area to do more special event planning that might be taking some of the special events even that we have in the town, such as the Fall Festival and some others, and putting them in the downtown. You know, we've created a lot of public space in the downtown. There will be more public space down there, and there's no reason why we can't look at special times of the year when we could even consider closing. And I know this has been a difficult thing to even think about, but closing Gilbert Road at special times of the year, we could do festivals of some kind. We started building on that already with the Art Walk and with the Farmers Market, and there's no reason why we can't continue that. And what I wanted to do tonight is get some more feedback from you on that, talk a little bit about that, and maybe even suggest that we get members of the commission and also some of the merchants involved, and maybe after the first of the year begin to talk about special event planning in the Heritage District, where we can continue to build on thoughts that I've heard already in the community. We've talked about culinary experiences in Gilbert, how special they are. We can build on that also for special events in the Heritage District. I think we have many, many opportunities to do things down there. And tonight I just wanted to express that thought to you and see if you had any other further ideas, and maybe get to a point where we can put together a committee of some kind that we can begin to plan these types of things.
Okay, that's a great idea and recommendation. Do we have any comments from commissioners on this point?
Chairman Barlow, I do. Well, first of all, my heart's beating faster just from hearing this, because it's something that we wanted for so long. So it's great to hear this. I was wondering if this is going to be. You already have an events committee, right? Does the town have an events group?
We have an event staff, yes.
Staff.
Yes.
But there's no like committee or subcommittee currently meeting.
No.
So, oh, just special events. There isn't anything like that right now?
No.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, if we're talking about events specific to the Heritage District, I'm hoping that we, you know, if you would like to form a subcommittee or something that would involve commissioners and merchants and, you know, begin planning. One of the things that I have wanted for a long time is to not have a dark Heritage District during the holidays. So I know that that's a year away, but a lot of times it's a year in planning also. So I'm excited, and I, as a member of the Redevelopment Commission, am completely in favor of it and would like to help.
Yeah, thank you. We've been brainstorming about different ideas even. During the holidays, we have the area that's north of Oregano's even, along the Western Canal. You're familiar probably with the water features along there, and we haven't been able to do the luminary experience out at the Riparian Preserve for a few years now. Well, we could think about something like that, maybe in an area like that. We also know that the merchants on the east side of Gilbert Road in the core area, I've heard feedback from them is, why don't we do things on that side? Why can't we get people over there? Well, there's a lot of public space over there also that could be used to plan a special event of some kind. So I think there are many opportunities to do things down there.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other comments?
You know, because I did special events for years, I mean, concert promotions, outdoor concerts, festivals, something with what you have at your disposal, if you can find areas that have a certain degree of power, so generators don't have to be brought in, or if there's a way to highlight some of the block grant money that comes in to put in, you know, like a permanent stage, that would make it so much easier to start getting these things to happen. And there's people in the community that have assets like, you know, PAs that they probably would contribute for weekends where you're not paying rentals. Like, because let's face it, staging and PAs can cost a lot of money when you go to the pros. It costs a lot of money. But if it's a low key thing, somebody's got a 5,000 watt PA and maybe they're willing to let you use it for a couple days and run the power and do their part for the community. And I can think of a couple people that would probably consider that. So if you had a way to make it easy on them with some three-phase power, so they don't have to rent generators and start immediately incurring costs. Just something to consider. I don't know what the mechanisms would be, but you know might know what's available or can find out what's available in those areas.
We do.
Thank you, Commissioner Torres.
Thank you.
Any commissioners, any other comments? Okay.
So what's the next step?
Next step, I think, is after the first of the year, when things are all settled down, I'd like to, I guess, talk with the commission and put together members from the commission that may be interested with some of the merchants that maybe at the merchant meeting in the downtown. I know they have a regular meeting. We can solicit some participation there also.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move along here. Administrative item number 5, discuss use of Town Council chambers as a regular meeting place for redevelopment commission hearings. So with that, we'll discuss that for a few minutes. Any commissioners have an opinion on that?
I think it's a great idea because stuff can be easily seen. They don't have to jimmy around with it to make it happen. And it's people that are talking about investing money in this community, at least they're coming somewhere like this. I mean, if it's here or 300 or wherever, it's not a card table and fold-out chairs. I like it.
Any other comments?
This chair's softer.
Yeah, they are softer.
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
I think that I agree that it is more comfortable, and it seems to be, I think, more comfortable probably for the visitors. However, I feel a little bit uncomfortable being lofted above the rest of the people. Maybe it's just because I've gotten used to the annex that we use and being right in with the visitors and the presentations and things like that. I think it's a little too lofty for us. That's my comment.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
But I enjoy it.
So this is my comment. We've always attempted to have redevelopment commission meetings within the redevelopment district. And I know that we have to move on. I really think that we're going to impact the attendance of redevelopment commission meetings from those stakeholders in the redevelopment commission, in the redevelopment area, in the Heritage District. I'm trying to balance the use of these wonderful facilities with the fact that, you know, we're in more intimate quarters when we're at the chamber. However, I think until the last couple of months, it's never been an issue. I've definitely been comfortable here tonight. My preference, though, is to return to the Heritage District.
Okay, thank you. I kind of feel like you do. I like the, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I like the location in the Heritage District because we're right down there on the same level. It's very easy to shake hands and greet and talk a little bit. And it's right in the heart of the Heritage District. And we haven't, as you said, Commissioner, we haven't had any problems really with seating. I do like the technology here. It's really nice and beneficial. And there may be time, I don't think we always need the technology, but maybe as time goes along, we will. But my preference would be to return to our location in the Heritage District. So there's an opportunity to make a motion here or vote. I'm not sure what we should do here at this point.
Chairman and Commissioners, a motion is not necessarily required, but we have noted your preferences, and we will, if needed, continue the conversation.
Okay. So we'll move along on the agenda then to, I'm sorry? Go ahead.
I request one question here. If we were to stay here, would we be running into conflicts with other groups that use this or the council?
Chairman and Commissioners, at this time, we do not see a conflict. However, when there is a conflict for these types of meetings, we also have room 300 above with the same technology, and the seating is at the same floor level. If you've had events in room 300, we often have design review board hearings in 300 set up with tables and chairs and microphones and projectors.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving along, item number 6, committee update, Downtown Gilbert Partnership update by RDC Representative Chairman Fresquez.
So it's been a while since the steering committee for the Downtown Gilbert Partnership has met. It's my intention as a member of the steering committee to reinvigorate that group after the holidays. Especially after the last couple of months, I think that stakeholders and anybody who has an interest in the Heritage District, if in fact we have a smaller group of stakeholders, it's an important group, and I intend to put more effort into that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, item B, HR Cap Board and Arts Subcommittee Report, update by Commissioner Barlow. Well, tonight we had Diane Fales make a presentation to us, which I thought was really interesting and very insightful into the great opportunities for art. I don't have anything more to add to that. I think it was wonderful to have her here. Okay, item C, Event Committee, update by Commissioner McNally.
There's a meeting tomorrow night, or excuse me, I think it's tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., which I'll be at, but I have not heard feedback on the other events. I don't know how successful the carnival was. I did participate in the giving challenge, and that did not draw anywhere near what they had anticipated in the number of people that would be there. So I don't know where that will go from this point.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Item D, Gilbert Historical Society, Chairman Fresquez.
So I believe that this item really has to do with the steering committee that's been set up to look at the idea for a cultural center. So I'm a member of two committees, actually. I'm on the board of the Historical Society, but for this particular interest, I'm a member of the Development Committee, which consists of 6 members of the board, 4 members of the board and 2 consultants. And then there's a larger steering committee, which is about 15 to 18 people strong, including the 2 consultants also. So we've had a couple of meetings where we've brainstormed ideas for cultural centers. And I'm using the word cultural center, although, you know, that it may not actually, that may not actually be what comes out of this. The idea that everybody agrees on is that whatever it is we come up with is going to be highly experiential. That what people want anymore is not to go look at artifacts in a historical museum, but rather to participate and be active in activities. So we'll have a couple of more meetings prior to issuing an RFP for a feasibility study. Some of the things that we're doing to ease communication among this large steering committee, which is a very extensive group of people in the community, is we've established a Dropbox. And we also have e-newsletters that are going out. We have the Historical Society young ladies that are working there from the university. What are they called? Anyway, they've done research on other cultural centers that would be similar to what we would be looking at, and that's in the Dropbox. And the City of Chandler has a fantastic report because they've also done the same type of study that we have. We've been using their report also as a guideline. So our next meeting is in early January, and then in January I'll report again.
Thank you very much. Moving along to communications, number 8, report from chair on current or future events. I don't have anything to report at this time. Item 9, report from council liaison on current or future events.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and our wonderful board or commission here. I wanted to just mention 2 quick things. One, you'll note if you look at the town council agenda for tomorrow night that there is an amendment for a development agreement associated with Heritage Marketplace, and related to that, the parking garage. I'd encourage you to take a look at the staff report, which is online and available to you. And if you have any comments or questions, to either contact staff sometime tomorrow or make your feelings known at the meeting or via email ahead of the meeting if you're not able to be there. But we are pretty darn excited to see that there's some movement and some new life in that project, and look forward to learning some more tomorrow night. And then secondly, just as we always do this time of year, I want to wish everyone happy holidays and safe time together with friends and family, and hope that everyone, including you, your families, our staff, and all of the residents, have a terrific holiday season and a wonderful 2013. So thank you for all you do. Thanks.
Thank you. Item 10, report from commissioners on current or future events. reports, commissioners? Okay, none.
I too would like to just wish everybody a happy and safe and blessed holiday season.
Thank you. Item 11, report from principal planner on current or future events.
Commissioners, I'm just going to back up to item number 7. I know our Economic Development Director did give us an update on one of the projects. I just wanted to very quickly give you a couple of other updates for agenda item number 7. The Farmers Market, the Art Walk, and the Food Truck event are still occurring on the weekends. They're sharing customers and people are wandering from event to event. So it's a very nice time. The temporary parking lots are well used. We're happy to see that. It's spreading out the traffic or the parking on both sides of Gilbert Road. New businesses, Flashback Antiques. If you haven't visited, please do. Sherry and John Spitz, new owners, have done a wonderful job in the previous Gallery 225. They're very excited to be in town, and they have a great business there. The Mexican food restaurant by Postino's East, they did pull their permits for TI, tenant improvement, this week, so they hope to be open by April. And the Fish Taco, new Fish Taco, they are also working on their construction drawings for their tenant improvement by the Barber. And the Dentist at 26 North have also submitted their construction drawings, and I believe they're about ready to pull their permits too. The sale of Beaven property is in escrow, so we hope that that happens in 2013. And if you haven't received communication from Mike Banan, owner of the Postino property, they are wishing to meet with you and begin discussions on the new building on the north side. And that's what I have there. And as a back to communications from me, I truly appreciate your input and you're willing to share ideas and generate work that needs to get done for the Heritage District. I know how much time it takes out of your personal lives to serve, and we all appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Linda, is there any information on who the buyer of Beavens is, or what the future uses?
I am not privy for the confidential information. However, we have a council member and economic development director. I don't know if they have insight that can be shared. I haven't been given that direction. We do know who is in escrow, and that would be the owner of Postino and the Oakland Development, Mike Banan and Craig DeMarco.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Linda, for all your support and hard work. We couldn't do it without you.
I enjoy it.
And Libby also. Thank you.
Libby.
Poor Libby.
Yeah. And I'm sorry I overlooked item number 7, Linda.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Thank you.